Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday night, November 15th live stream for studentloanjustice.org. I am Alan Collins. I am the founder of Student Loan Justice. We are the oldest, largest, and pretty much only true citizens group, uh, true grassroots citizens group actually fighting for student loan justice. Now, for the first 15 years of our existence, that very moderately meant fighting only for bankruptcy protections. That is, the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. Founding fathers themselves were being savaged by debt under British banks, British merchants, friends of the king. And when the founders ratified the Constitution, they called for, uniform bankruptcy laws. And they called for it ahead of the power to declare war, ahead of the power to raise an army, ahead of the power to create currency, and even ahead of the power to create a judiciary. So clearly, the founders wanted to avoid what we are seeing now. 15 years we fought for this, folks, and I am here to tell you that now, here today, as we speak, this is now, fortunately or unfortunately, a catastrophically failed lending system. So, back in March, actually, even going back to last August, we started calling not for bankruptcy protections. I think it's too late to return bankruptcy. We started calling on the president to cancel all federally owned student loans by executive order. Now, that's a very important distinction to make between what we are calling for and what everybody else up until very recently was calling for. Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, many others were calling for student loan cancellation for months and months on the presidential campaign trail, but everything that they were calling for required Congress to pass a law, to raise money, to pay for loan cancellation. Well, we realized, we've known for a long time, but this is nonsense. The president can cancel all federally owned student loans tomorrow with no law being passed, no congressional approval required, and perhaps most importantly, not one penny of tax money needed. The taxpayers paid for these loans many years ago. They do not have to pay twice. That's just insane. That's nonsense. So the student loan swamp, as I like to call it, that is the unelected bureaucrats, lobbyists, lawyers, and others, and even student loan lending companies who are making a ton of money off of this whole scam, and it is a scam. They would love for Congress to pass a bill that raises taxes or somehow comes up with $1 trillion, $2 trillion so that they can get paid again for these just ridiculously terrible loans. But I'm here to tell you that is completely unnecessary. And so since March, we started a petition calling for what I just said, for the president to cancel all federal loans by executive order. And by the way, also do an executive order which calls on the Department of Education and its contractors to stop opposing student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. And that's important because the president can cancel like 85% of all student debt by executive order. Of that, there is no doubt. But there's still those 15% of loans that are laying around left over that the president cannot cancel. And so certainly for those loans, we must have bankruptcy protections restored. So, hey, by the way, if you have any questions or comments, throw them out. I'm going to try and keep it kind of short tonight. I do have one announcement. We are doing a town hall next Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, through the CUNY college system, which is the colleges and universities of New York State or something like that. So this will be 3 p.m. Eastern. Register for it if you would like to attend. You'll see the link to it over there, maybe down there, possibly up there, depending on how you're watching us. And if you're watching us on YouTube, I apologize, you cannot comment. But if you're watching this live and you have a comment, then by all means, throw it out. Things are really hopping right now, folks. Big time. I've got a very sneaking feeling that some big things are going to happen this week. Not only as a result of our town hall that we're doing on Friday, And oh, by the way, it's not just me doing it. It's me, Matt Taibbi, who's a writer from Rolling Stone, um, Catherine Austin Fitz, who is just an amazing person. She has a long resume I won't recite here, but one of the items on her resume is that she is a former board member for Sally Mae. And she's a very strong ally of ours now, by the way. So that's awesome. Also up with us will be Tom Borgers, who you may have seen interviewed top story on 60 Minutes. He was the federal investigator for the government on the subprime home mortgage lending crisis. So, and he's got a lot to say about this, and he's also a good friend of ours. So yeah, looking forward to that. We have a couple articles coming out today, tomorrow, maybe even the next day as well. But here's the current state of things, folks. While we are the first group and really the only group for a while that was very strongly calling for the cancellation of student loans by executive order, I'm very happy to report that 6 weeks ago, Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer proposed a Senate resolution calling for exactly what we're calling for, the cancellation of federal student loans by executive order. Kind of funny how that worked out. I'm not going to say they stole our idea, but they certainly appropriated it. But that's a very good problem to have. That puts us in play in the big leagues. And if you look at all the news headlines these days, you will see that everybody and their brother is now talking about the president, primarily President Biden, as the common refrain goes. I don't know how this election is going to go, but yeah, I'm just going to say it looks like Biden, so whatever. But all that stuff that we're hearing about started with our petition. We started it in March. We were essentially a voice in the wilderness. There was another group, Debt Collective, also calling for it around maybe that time or something, but our petition started kicking ass. We started getting picked up by Newsweek and Fox News and Fox Business and Heavy.com and Yahoo News and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden, here comes Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer with their own proposal calling for exactly what we're calling for. But folks, there's a big, big danger with the Schumer/Warren or Warren/Schumer proposal. And that is that, and I hate to say this because we supported Elizabeth Warren on the campaign trail, their plan sucks. I'm just going to say it. It just does. It sucks. They don't call for total loan cancellation by executive order. They call for an executive order canceling up to $50,000 in student loans. And there's another trial balloon being floated, and I think this is probably the more likely one, where Biden's talking about a blanket cancellation of $10,000 per borrower. So the $10,000 thing is an insult to, I'd say, 95% of the people on this group. Wouldn't even take care of interest. Not even close. Like, a lot, I think, I'm going to guess the average person on our group owes around $100,000. You know, there's a lot of interest, penalties, fees, other crap tacked onto a loan, a student loan, which is not counted in the official estimate. So we're way over $2 trillion. $10,000 is insulting, but the up to $50,000, I should stress the 50. Dudes, that's just lame. It's untrustworthy. You know, up to $50,000 can literally, it can mean anything. It could mean zero. It could mean nothing for you. It could mean like $50,000 only for blonde-haired, blue-eyed Chinese people with who are disabled veterans or something. I don't know. It could. Do you see what I'm getting at? There are a lot of weasel words in the Warren proposal that give me great reason for pause. And folks, whether you love Elizabeth Warren, hate Elizabeth Warren, love Joe Biden, hate Joe Biden, love Donald Trump, hate Donald Trump, we're a nonpartisan group. Or maybe bipartisan. No, we're nonpartisan. We don't care what you think, what your opinion is. But we've been doing this for 15 years now, folks, and we have seen enough tricks come and go and come and go again and come again and go again and on and on and on, then I can tell you that up to $50,000 is not worth the paper it's written on. That is laying the groundwork for doing absolutely nothing meaningful. The Department of Education has no desire or intentions of canceling any loans. And if you give them one little tiny thread to pull on, they will make sure that they pull that thread until you're laying there on the ground naked. That is what they do. It's what they've always done. So that up to $50,000 qualifier is extremely suspicious, and we don't have to settle for it, folks. Hey, Martin Russell's here. Martin has a comment. How's it going, Martin? Says, haven't tuned in a while. What would you say the mission statement for 2021 is? And have you thought about doing a podcast? Hey, Martin, good question. I consider this our podcast. I mean, we do this like every night now. Ed is with us on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I think this is pretty much it. We put our nightly live streams up on YouTube as well, so you can find us on our YouTube channel and get into us that way as well. But to your far more important question, what is our mission statement for 2021? It's very simple now, Martin. It's too late to return bankruptcy protections to student loans. It just is. This lending system is now catastrophically failed. Our mission for 2021 is to get these loans 100% and totally gone. All of the federal loans. So the president cannot cancel privately owned student loans. So that's all private loans plus some weird sort of hybrid older style loans, so-called FFELP loans. And that's like 15% of all student loans. So our mission, Martin, is for the president to cancel all of the federally owned student loans that he can, which is all of them, and also to return bankruptcy protections to the loans that cannot be canceled by the president. That is our mission. And folks, the wind is at our backs. You know, we now can prove, we've known it for years, but now we can prove that this is by all reasonable metrics and measures a catastrophically failed lending system. Those are big words. I don't say those words lightly. But consider, even before the pandemic, 80% of all federal student loan borrowers were either unable to make payments on their loans, that's like 63%, or they were paying on their loans, but their balance was going up, and that's like 17%. So the vast majority weren't even able to pay before the pandemic. That's 4 out of 5. That's 44 million out of the 55 million total borrowers and cosigners. So all of those people are headed for default. And by the way, speaking of default, we also now can say, we've known it for years, but we can say that the default rate for 2004 students, so people who left college 16 years ago or even longer, their default rate is 40%. 40%. Now, the class of 2004, people who left college 16 years ago, they were only averaging about $12,000 in loans. Today, the average borrower, and we're talking about undergrads here, but the same applies to graduate students by and large. The average undergraduate today is leaving college with something like $40,000. So if the default rate for people who were borrowing only a third as much 16 years ago, when the economy was 2004, not bad. If their default rate is 40%, what do you think the default rate is for more recent borrowers? I mean, of everybody walking around right now, my best guess is that all things being equal, the default rate for everybody right now who has student loans is going to be something like 60, 70, maybe even 80%. 80%. And by the way, all that stuff is before, not after, not during, before the pandemic. So add another 15% or something onto that, and it looks like we're headed down a pretty dark hole again at this point regarding the pandemic. So, at what point do you call it a catastrophically failed lending system? Well, I'd say we passed that point a long time ago. You know, the default rate for subprime home mortgages, guess how much that was. Guess how high that was. Did you make a guess? Say it out loud. You probably said like, oh, I don't know, 30, 35, 40%. No, it was less than 20%. It was about 17 or 18%. Subprime home mortgage default rate was like 18%. And I'm here to tell you that the default rate for student loans, everybody with student loans right now, is going to be 70, 75, 80%, maybe even higher. So I think I've proven the case here. I don't think I need to provide you with any more data than what I just said to allow you to conclude, to the exclusion of all other possibilities, that this is a catastrophically failed lending system. So nobody is paying right now. Hey, Martin says, wow, to live through 2008 and 2020 dealing with this. Yeah, right? And I would maybe even say going back to September 11th, 2001 also. That was, a lot of people don't remember, but it was a very terrible economy for a few months after all that stuff went down. So, but yeah, folks, you may feel bad about not paying your loans, or maybe you don't, but whatever you feel, don't feel bad. This is not a bad borrower problem. This is a big government lending scam. Now, whether you're liberal or conservative, whether you love big government or hate big government, this is a big government lending scam, and of that there is no doubt. And frankly, that's a good thing, because if all this debt was sitting in private hands, it would be impossible for the president to cancel them by executive order. And that's one of my major worries, by the way, folks. One thing that could derail our mission for 2021 would be, and I could see this happening, would be if they take those $1.5 trillion in federal student loans and they put them somewhere where the president cannot touch them. That kind of scares me, because that would make things really hard for us. But you know, folks, I say I'm worried, I say I'm scared. I'm really not, because you know why? You know what the truth of this lending system is? Everybody knows it's failed. The borrowers know, but the lenders know as well. The people on Wall Street know. Everybody, all of the bad guys know that this is a failed lending system. Almost nobody is paying on their loans right now. And really, the right thing that needs to happen is that nobody ever pays again. We've got to take this lending system out to the bath and drown it in the tub. Take it out back and shoot it. Put it out of its misery. It's a catastrophically failed lending system, and by paying money into this lending system at this point, it is not only unwise, but it's unpatriotic. You know, lending systems fail. They do. Since in my lifetime, we've seen the failure of at least two lending systems. There was the subprime home mortgage meltdown. I would say most people would call that a failed lending system. There was the S&L scandal back in, I think, the 80s. Lending systems fail, folks. They just do. And it has nothing to do with being with the borrowers being bad or greedy or bad people or selfish or anything like that. Lending systems spin out of control from time to time. And this is what's happened to the federal student loan system and the private student loan system. And to pay into this beast at this point is unwise and unpatriotic. Don't feed the beast. Now, I know for a lot of you, you're like, oh yeah, but you know, I could get my wages garnished and I could get in trouble. I could get fired. Who knows? Folks, get yourself out of that mindset. Inculcate the fact that even before this pandemic, 65% of everybody wasn't even paying. And 15% of the other people who were paying weren't able to pay their loans down. So 80% of all borrowers were never going to be able to repay their loans. So, and we don't give advice here. Everybody can make their own decisions, but don't be so afraid of this failed lending system. That is the one thing that is holding us back. Don't feed the beast and be proud that you're not. In fact, be ashamed of yourself if you do. Because it's not just us that we're fighting for. And, it's not like we're looking for free money. We're not looking for someone to cut us a check. Like those terrible PPP loan borrowers, those shameful business owners who got $500 billion or $1 trillion in loans thrown at them that don't have to be paid back. And by the way, which all added to the national debt, I might add. Yeah, we're not looking for someone to cut us a check. We're just looking to not have our lives crushed by this unconstitutionally predatory lending system. And to the fingerwaggers that go, hey, when I went to college, I paid my way or I paid my loans off and shame on you. You can tell them to go fuck themselves because, number one, they don't know what they're talking about. Clearly, whenever they paid off their loans, good for them. Maybe they want a merit badge, but nothing they can say or do will change the fact that today, in 2020, this is a catastrophically failed lending system. And by the way, the people that like to wag their fingers at you, they are almost always conservative. They almost always hate Obamacare. They almost always hate the colleges. Now, we take no issue on either of those things. But the people that wag their fingers at you, you should say, you should go to work for the government. Or you should go to work for the colleges. Because they love dipshits like you who, instead of decrying these greedy colleges who are indoctrinating our youth and turning them socialist and all that sort of thing, you are actually defending the colleges. And you are defending the worst big government lending scam this country has ever seen. You should say that. And then say, shame on you. You need to turn in your conservative card. Because you are no conservative. You're a fool. You're a tool. And you're a petty, petty, petty small person. And you just don't like college students. Maybe you didn't go. Whatever your deal is, I don't care. But you are no conservative. Turn in your card. You've been played for a fool. And shame on you. And oh, by the way, you may want to throw in the fact that obscene government profits of like $50 billion a year or more, some of those profits are used to fund Obamacare, which is something that the conservatives say they don't like. So shove that in their faces. And just so you know and we are a nonpartisan group. We're neither right nor left. I'm just reporting here from the battle lines, folks, and what I have seen. And what I have seen is that 90% of the people who wag their fingers at you, if you look into what their job is, or maybe they're retired or whatever, but if you look into their background, you will find that literally 90% of the time, they sucked on the government tit in one way or another, and they maybe still are sucking until it bleeds. For the tens of thousands of dollars that we maybe borrowed or maybe didn't borrow, but it got added onto our loans, or whatever we supposedly owe in student loans, typically the fingerwaggers have sucked many multiples of that, sometimes millions, through military service or through the GI Bill or whatever their gig happens to be where they got money from. But, I'm just saying, the true pull yourself up by your bootstrap people, they do not give two shits about us. They don't care about us, and they're not going to go out of their way to wag their finger at us because they're too busy pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, and good for them. The people who take the time to wag their fingers at us almost always have a guilty conscience, because while they are wagging their finger at us, their other finger is milking that government tit dry. So, don't be afraid of those nitwits. Their bark is louder than their bite. And when you point out those three facts that I just stated a few minutes ago, you can rewind this thing by 4 minutes and rehear me say that. When you shove those three little things in their face, they will at least shut up because they have not one serious thing to say, and they will go away. And as far as I'm concerned, folks, just getting those people to go away, that's enough. That's enough for me. I'm not looking to change their minds. Although I will say, the honest conservatives who lob those grenades at us, the honest ones will absolutely come around to agreeing with us. I kid you not. That happens. So, but anyways, arguing with those people takes some time. It's kind of a pain in the ass, and I know it's pretty unpleasant for a lot of people. So what I would say to you is, if you don't feel like going toe to toe with them, all right, well, don't. I would encourage you to, because quite frankly, it's fun and it's easy, and these people need to be taught. But if you don't have the time, I get that. Focus instead on the 55 million people in the country, which is nearly enough to elect a president outright, by the way, who should be on our petition but aren't. There are 55 million people in the country who either have student loans or are co-signed on them, and all of them need to be signing our petition. Those are the people that I'm really worried about. Those are the people that it's worth going out of your way, working and trying to find. Because, folks, this group right here is a way bigger deal than maybe it appears. I know we don't have a staff of people. We don't have $1 million budget. We don't have Washington, D.C. offices. We don't have a marketing team. We don't have many things. But this group right here is the pushing force for student loan justice. If we hadn't started that petition in March, nobody would be talking about canceling student loans by executive order today. That started with us, with me, with you, with the 50 state chapter leaders that we have across the country, and with our now 800,000 members. We're it, guys. And if we were to disappear tomorrow, then I can pretty much guarantee you that the best we're going to see for loan cancellation is going to be that lame nonsense that we're seeing right now in the media. Up $10,000, okay. Up to $50,000, which will end up getting bureaucratized by the Department of Education into nothing meaningful. And that will perpetuate this lending system. We can't have that. Think about those two facts that I mentioned at the very top of this broadcast. This lending system is done. It's toast. It's finito. It's got to be taken to the shed and put out of its misery. It's got to be taken to the bath and drowned in the tub. Think of your own analogy. This lending system is done. Done. We're finished. We're through. So inculcate that. And please realize that, yeah, we are the pioneers, folks, like it or not. You can't rely on anybody you see on TV, anybody you see on the internet saying, oh yeah, sign up with our gay little group and we're going to cancel student loans. And you don't have to do anything. You just have to sit back and watch. Those are the bad guys. Guys, we've been doing this for 15 years now. There's a lot of bullshit out there in the ether, certainly on the internet. And there's a lot of groups out there that claim to be fighting for us, but they're not. They're just trying to make their careers and build their respective institutions. We're not that. There's no institution for us to build. When we get these loans gone, then this banner behind me goes in a museum or maybe even the trash can. I haven't decided yet. But this is it, folks. This group is it. And you can't unhear what I just said. You know, you heard, and it's true, that we are the pioneers. We are the tip of the spear. We are the spear. We are the eye of the storm. We are the storm. We are the people. We are the 55 million, I don't like the word victims, but I'm just going to say victims of the largest financial scam ever perpetrated against the American people. Think about that. Think about that. You can't unhear that, folks. We, you and me, are the pioneers. What we do, what our 50 state chapter leaders do, what you do, what I do, what the 55 million people out in the country do between now and January 20th, when the next president, I'm not going to say Joe Biden, because we have Our members span the political spectrum, and I respect that. Uh, but we can get this problem solved by January 20th, folks. We can. So that's what we are all about, 1,000%. And we cannot do it without you. Believe me. When you do nothing, nothing happens. That's just a fact. You know, we could easily have 10 or 15 or even 20 million. Heck, we could have 40 million signatures on our petition right now. And that will happen when everybody out there gets off their ass. But as long as you treat this as a spectator sport and expect that me or some anonymous person is going to pull your weight for you, then we're going to be here a long time, folks. And this problem will never get solved. I don't want to go down that road. I want to get this problem solved. I was just about to swear, but I'm not going to swear. I want to get this problem solved. And if you agree, then you will spend some very serious time and effort helping us grow this petition. When we have 1 million people on there instead of 750,000, that will be very significant. When we have 5 million people on there rather than 1 million, even more significant still. When we can get 10 million people on that signature, on that petition, we're pretty much done. That's pretty much game over, folks. Everything gets easier when our petition grows. So I'm going to leave it there at that. I've gone a little longer than I wanted to tonight. It's Sunday night. It's snowing here in northern Wisconsin. I'm going to enjoy the weather as much as I can. But thank you all for tuning in. In the future, come to our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/SLJ group if you want to catch us live and register your own comment. Please register for our thing on Friday, our town hall. But more than anything, guys, do everything you can to grow the petition. If you go to the petition, you will see 5 clickable links, 5 clickable, very easy actions that you can take right now. Do that. So that's change.org/cancel student loans. Very easy to remember. So let's do this, guys. I've got a sneaking feeling, this is just my spider senses tingling, got a sneaking feeling something really good beyond the article and the town hall that we're doing tomorrow and Friday. I've just got a sense that something else is going to happen, so we'll see. With your efforts, something will happen, and it'll be very good, not bad, good. That's what we want. So good luck, folks. We're all in this together. Let's not hang separately, shall we? So good luck. Keep us posted as to your achievements. Go to the petition, change.org/cancel student loans. Make those 5 bullet points happen. Good luck. Godspeed. Good night. And God bless everybody.